This is Matt from TalkLaserToMe.com. Here are 6 projects for the holidays. The first project is the Magic of Christmas Holiday Wand. The first part of this project is to engrave the snowflake and then score the other parts of the wand. Once the wand is cut, you have to flip it over in order to engrave and score the other side. You see here I have the material pinned down to the honeycomb tray so it doesn't move. It's very important that when you flip it over that it is in the exact same place, so that way when you restart the engraving and scoring it will match up perfectly with the other side. Once flipped over, we restart the engraving process and the scoring process to perfectly match the other side of our acrylic. Some materials come masked when you purchase them. In hindsight of this project, I really wish I would have peeled off the masking before I engraved and cut this. I struggled a lot to get this off. I probably could have used the trick where you use tape to pull it off, but I didn't have any tape on me that would work in the moment. But you can see here, it was painful, but I managed to get it off with only a few curse words. The next part is to cut the handles for the wand. This is technically a 3-layered project, so there are 2 handles that will go over the middle part, which is our clear acrylic part we just cut. This is a good example of masking and why you should do it. You can see here, as I peel off the masking, a laser cutter will leave burn marks, so that's the reason you put the masking on. As you peel it off, you can see there were these burn marks all around it, and now once you take it off, you get a very nice, clean, clear piece of wood. Here's the project fully assembled. I just used some super glue to glue the handles to the acrylic, and I thought it turned out fantastic. You can see here this is what the engraved acrylic looks like on clear. I also did a set with red, and the score lines I used I filled in with some paint to make it white. Overall, really fun project to make. If your kids like Elf on the Shelf, I'm sure they'll like this. We don't do it at my house, but I thought this project was great. Here I'm uploading the file to the Glowforge app. Once loaded and I get my materials in the Glowforge, I get a nice image here where I can drag my designs around. Once I get them where I like, I can input my settings. I'm going to score the words and cut out the elf parts. The pieces were a lot smaller than I expected, but they cut out very well. It was a super easy cut. Everything worked well. No problems with this file. This is what it'll look like when it's fully assembled, but obviously this is before we glue it and paint it. Now I'm going to apply some wood glue to each piece with my finger. I like using wood glue because it gives you some time to play with the pieces. I didn't know exactly where these pieces were supposed to fit, so the wood glue allowed me to maneuver them a little bit as I laid them all out. You will also see here I had a toothpick, so in case any wood glue was visible, I just scraped it out of the way. Now I guess you're supposed to buy a little camera to glue in the circle part, but I didn't have that, so I chose to make my own. Here's a clear piece of acrylic I cut, then made a hollowed out circle that I colored black, and then blackened in the circle on the ornament. Now fully assembled, we have a little lens to go with our ornament. Our third project is a miniature sleigh that I modified from an existing file. This is what it was supposed to look like. I use Adobe Illustrator to edit and modify my files. So I took what the designer created, I selected it all, left clicked, and dragged down the ornament to a smaller size. Now it's time to upload the file to the Glowforge app. Once uploaded, I set the other layers to ignore, and I decided to cut the outer layers first on veg tan leather. The cut piece on the left is with the masking removed, and the one on the right is with the masking still on. Now we just reverse the process. I set the outer layers to ignore, and I'm going to cut the inner layers. Once I input my settings, I just simply drag the parts where I want to cut them on my material that's in my machine. It's pretty amazing that laser cutters can make such small parts look good. This was from an earlier attempt at this project, and I cut out way too many layers for the sled. My material must have been way too thick for what the designer intended. But I simply glued the pieces together with some wood glue and some clamps, gave them some paint, and off they go. Since I had so many parts that I cut, I was able to make 3 sleds. The fourth project is a beginner-friendly ornament that is very easy to cut and score. With the file uploaded, all I have to do is set my score settings for the first part, and then go to my cut settings to actually cut out the ornament. Glowforge makes it super easy to just drag the design where you want to cut it on the material. Now we just remove the masking from the project, and we have our ornament. Our next project is a lovely floral ornament that you can pick any letter from the alphabet. Here you can see me taking the letter T. I'm going to make a new file. I like to make the artboard the size of my Glowforge bed. I'm going to also be cutting the backing piece for the ornament. Once I've got both the pieces, I'll simply save the file as an SVG file that I can upload to the Glowforge app. All I have to do now is upload it to the Glowforge app, and again place my designs exactly where I want them on the material. The camera in the Glowforge is a great benefit for me. This is how I can maximize the material that I use and line up my designs exactly where I want them. Now all I have to do is enter my settings to score the design, and then to cut out the letter T and then the backer. One detail to note here is that I always try to do the score part first before I cut. That way the score lines or the engraving will line up exactly where I want, and if I cut it, it could move just a little bit and be off, and I don't want that. To finish this project, I just used some stain and some black paint to make the T stand out. Our last holiday project is a Sarcastic ornament. For this project, I chose to make a few modifications and a few different design decisions. The original designer of this file had intended it to, I think, all be engraved, but I wanted to try to do something a little different and turn this into a two-layer design where the floral piece would be a top layer that I would cut out, and I would glue that to the back layer. Now, in order to make this work, I needed to add a hole to the ornament for a hook. To do this in Adobe Illustrator, I simply made a circle, added a stroke to it, then expanded the circle, and then combined that circle with the Pathfinder tool, the Unite function, to make one solid piece. Now it's time to cut out the pieces. I'm going to first do the top layer that I created. It also has an engraving on it. It didn't turn out great. I think I had my settings a little too hot, but I decided to move forward with it anyways to see if I can make it work. Now to do the back layer, where I'm going to engrave the words, I'm going to cut out the ornament. As this project wraps up, I just want to thank you for watching this video. Please visit our website, talklasertome.com, your place to buy and sell laser designs if you are interested in purchasing any of these files. Happy holidays!